It's been a good month, this world that works, hasn't it? It's been a good month. That's been our theme for January, a world that works. And today's talk is It Out Pictures. That's kind of how it works, and we discussed what it is. I think we've been talking about what it is all month long. It is the power. It is the divine energy that we call God or spirit or Christ consciousness or Buddha mind or intelligence or first cause or higher power or whatever floats your boat. Just call it whatever you want. It is the energy with which everything happens in the manifest universe, and don't get hooked by one word over another word, and you can embrace one more than the other if you'd like, whatever you want to use. Whatever makes you comfortable, whatever just resonates with you, you can use it. It's just that any one of them will do. We call it principle, we call it first cause, we call it whatever. Whatever. It is the thing that drives the universe. That's what it is. This all-pervasive, all-knowing, all-powerful energy, this self-sentient energy that simply loves. That's what it does. It just loves. The alpha and the omega, baby. It's everything. It's all in all. It has always existed. It always will exist. It is God itself. It is the great I am. That's it. When we say it, that's what we're referring to. And our faith tradition says that this divine intelligence creates. And the manifest universe, the body of God, is the result of that creation. The divine creative process is the method of creation. So it's like we believe both and. We can believe in God as the source, and we believe in evolution as the method of creation. Same thing. The divine creative process is the way it works. Thought is placed into a creative medium. That creative medium goes to work without question, out picturing, and the manifestation is the form that results from the thought. This is the way it works. And because everything in the manifest universe is made of that same energy, there is no different energy in the universe at all. There's only energy. That means that we manifest in much the same way. We co-create our lives with that same divine creative process because we are made of the same stuff as divine intelligence itself. The only difference is we have free will and we are left alone to discover that for ourselves. We are left alone to discover that we have within us that same power to co-create our lives that Spirit uses to create the entire universe. Ernest Holmes said this. He said, one of the great difficulties in this new order of thought is that we are likely to indulge in too much theory and too little practice. Remind you of anybody? And don't nudge the person next to you. We are likely to indulge. We talk about it a lot, right? We talk about it way more than we practice it sometimes. So what we need to do is we need to do more than just pronounce that these principles work. We have to work them. We have to work them. That's it. We must prove the principles in our own lives, in and through and as our own lives. Like it says in Hebrews 3:19, they could not enter in because of their unbelief. Could not enter in because of their own unbelief. So we must prove that these principles work, and we must prove them by working them, by using them in our own lives. We have to go beyond just announcing that it works. We have to work it. We have to work it. Again, Ernest Holmes said this. He said, it's easy to proclaim there are no needy, there are no sick. Anyone can say this, whether he be wise or otherwise. If we are to prove such statements to be facts in our experience, we shall be compelled to do more than announce the principle, no matter how true it may be. So we have to put it to work in our lives. We have to use it, like to prove that it is a transformational principle, to prove that it is a practical spirituality. We have to put it to work in our lives. And so all month long, we've been talking about spirit, soul, and body. Right? The three aspects. We've been talking about seed, soil, and plant. The energy that thinks, the energy that then goes to work on that thought, immediately out picturing that thought and that predominant belief and the form that results, the manifestation or the effect. the physical thing that's occupying space and time in the physical world. That's the way it works. Ernest Holmes said, all is love, yet all is law. And that he meant love points the way, our divine givingness of life to itself. Love points the way, but law makes the way possible. And this is how these two aspects work together in such complete harmony that they manifest in the physical universe. Love is the creative thought, that powerful thought that is placed into the law, that goes to work without question and creates form. It manifests. That's what it does. It manifests. So spirit is forever inhabiting form and abandoning form, inhabiting form and abandoning form. It creates because that's what it does. It creates. And because we are made in the image and likeness of that very same creator, we co-create our lives. And we use that same divine creative process. We create in our own way, in our own time, in our own lives, our most predominant thoughts and beliefs. And sometimes that means denying that it works, right? I know you have had those experiences, or is that only me? Ernest Holmes said this, it follows that if we believe it will not work, it really works by appearing to not work. Exactly. When we believe it cannot and will not, then, according to principle, it does not. Nothing wrong with the law, it's working perfectly. It's outpicturing our predominant belief. That is, this stuff doesn't work. Okay? That is the law of cause and effect. Why am I making a noise? Anyway, because I always make noise. When we convince ourselves that it doesn't work means it's working perfectly, right? It means it's working perfectly. It is responding to and corresponding to our predominant belief. We believe chaos happens, we believe stuff happens, and it happens. It proves our basic belief. So it's working perfectly. Remember Hebrews 3:19. We cannot enter in because of our unbelief. Now, we're not being punished by an angry God when stuff doesn't work out. We are simply outpicturing our predominant belief. In our ignorance, we are using the law to produce exactly what we don't want. Just what we don't want. There's nothing wrong with the love, and there's nothing wrong with the law. It is outpicturing perfectly. We must shift our gaze from the ills of the world to the gifts of the world. We have to continue to shift our gaze from the things of fear to the things of love. We have to shift our gaze from the things we loathe to the things we desire. We have to remove the energy from what we don't want to what we do want. Ernest Holmes said this, he said, we love our life into existence. We love our experiences into manifestation. And, well, let me quote it exactly. He said, I do not want, I love into my experience the things I desire. I wrap their expression to me in love so that they come harmoniously and with no strain. Now, isn't that wonderful? Now, don't we want to manifest like that? I love into my experience the things I desire. I wrap them to me. When we love our lives into being, we're manifesting from our desires instead of our fears. When we have no resistance, when we have no resistance at all to the things of our thought, of our predominant thought, of our desires, when we have no resistance at all, they happen like that. Don't you do the car thing? Right? Who has good car karma, right? You get the spot immediately. We call it parkma, by the way. You got parkma. You get the car right, you get the spot right up front. No resistance at all to it. And it just outpictures immediately. Well, all aspects of your life should be like that, right? I remember talking with my girlfriend once, this was years ago. My kids were little, they were in elementary school. And we were talking about how we hadn't gone skiing in a long time. For me, it had been a very long time. since before I'd left New York. And she said, oh, that's what we should do one of these days. We should go up to Big Bear and go skiing. It'll be great, just the two moms, leave the kids at home with the dads and go have a day. And I thought, oh, that sounded wonderful. It just sounded wonderful. And then she told me what lift tickets cost. And then it didn't sound as wonderful. But we held that belief, we were like, yeah, we're going to do that. Yeah, we got all excited and energized, and we're going to do that. Well, that night, Larry came home from work, and he said to me, you know anybody who skis? And I said, why? And he said, there was a thing today. There was a spin of a wheel. If you sold a car, you got to spin the wheel and get the prize. He goes, I got these 2 lift tickets. We don't even ski. Do you know anybody who'd want them? And I said, yoink, they're mine. And we had our day, and we went skiing. I mean, it was delightful, but who could have written that? You couldn't have even written that script. There was no way of knowing how that would come to me. And we had a wonderful day, and we skied all day long. And I hadn't been skiing for 25 years, like I said, and I walked into the rental room, and I went, oh! And the guy behind the counter said, what? And I said, last time I went skiing, skis were made of wood. So he said, novice. And he put me on the bunny slope, and I really, in retrospect, should have only rented 1 ski and strapped it to my butt, because that's where I spent most of my time. But the thing was, it was a wonderful day, it was a wonderful day. It was exactly what we wanted. And it was a perfect demonstration of how these principles work when there's no resistance to them. Absolutely no resistance to that manifestation, and there it was. Ernest Holmes said this. He said, the practice of the science of mind and spirit calls for a positive understanding of the spirit of truth, a willingness to let this inner guide us, and the conscious knowledge that the law of the Lord is perfect. The law of the Lord is perfect, from Psalms 19:7. The law of the Lord is perfect. It outpictures exactly the way it's supposed to outpicture. It is responding to the predominant thought backed by your emotion, and that's what keeps demonstrating, keeps manifesting. So when our thought is in accord with that perfect law, nothing can hinder its manifestation, nothing. This means we postpone or delay the events in our lives. We put off the manifestation in our lives by our own thoughts. We co-create our lives. We co-create those manifestations or the delays, the commitments, the demonstrations, or the lack of demonstrations. We are co-creating that all the time because it is outpicturing all the time in our lives. Here's the thing. A false belief or a thought of fear has nothing to hold it in place except our belief in it. A false thought or a belief, a fear belief, has nothing holding it into condition except our belief in it. When we withdraw the energy from it and we place it where it belongs on the truth, that false thought has nothing keeping it together. And it dissolves back into the nothingness from which it came. It is only held in place by our belief. Conditions are not entities. We are entities. Conditions are temporary outpicturings of thoughts. The only thing holding those unwanted conditions in place is our hesitation, our fear, our false belief in something. And when we get it, and we withdraw the thought from the false belief and we place it where it belongs on the truth of our being, on the wholeness, on the health, on the abundance, when we place it over and over and over again on the truth of our being, then that is what will start to outpicture. That is the truth of our nature. Now, the unwanted condition will hang around long enough until we get it, right? It'll hang around as long as it needs to. Ernest Holmes said that those things of thought, those unwanted conditions, they're not the truth of us, but they're real. He said that they're as real as they need to be. They're as real as they need to be until we get it. Now, we've also had, I've had those lift ticket experiences many times in my life, and I'm sure each one of you have, right? You've had those like instant demonstrations. You're thinking about someone and the phone rings and it's them, right? Instant manifestations. And I've also had those other times, right? Where you're praying and you're meditating and you're praying and you're meditating and you're praying and you're meditating and you're going, this is not happening. This is not happening. And you don't see a shift and you don't see movement and you start saying to yourself, this stuff doesn't work. It doesn't work, and it's working perfectly. It's responding to my belief that it doesn't work. What I need to heal, what I need to go back to prayer for is my unbelief. Not for the thing itself, not for the condition I desire. I need to go back to prayer to heal my unbelief. I cannot enter in because of my unbelief. And when I heal my false belief around it, then conditions start to shift. And the thing is, all prayer is answered. Sometimes we don't see that teeny tiny mini shift. All prayer is answered. And sometimes it's just a little bit of the puzzle. Sometimes it's a minute little shift. Sometimes it's almost imperceptible. But we must believe that prayer works. That something is happening maybe on the level of cause. It's not showing up on the level of effect yet. But a shift is occurring. A shift is occurring. But we have to heal that false belief of thinking when we don't see it on, of course, our timetable, because God doesn't know better. We know better. Why isn't it showing up now? It needs to be here now. No, it needs to be here in God time, whatever that is. And so we go back to prayer. We have to go back to heal that unbelief. I must know that shift is happening. Shift happens, right? Shift is happening at the level of cause. Something is changing. Something is shifting. And we have to keep going back to prayer, maybe to see the whole thing. Maybe you have to go back each time and reaffirm. Maybe we feel like we don't see anything in the physical world, but we still have to go back and know that at the level of cause, there is change happening. There's change happening, and it's building. And sometimes it just has to occur little by little because it occurs in our mind first, right? It occurs in our mind first. We begin to entertain a little greater good for ourselves, and then maybe that little shift sparks something different. And then we can entertain a little bit more and a little bit more. But you know what? That's because of our unbelief. It has nothing to do with the law, and it has nothing to do with the love. It is just God working for us by working through us. There is no other way it could happen. We have to get ourselves out of the way and let God be God through our lives. It can't work any other way. There's no big or little in the mind of God. We're the ones that think it's harder to heal pneumonia than it is the common cold. It's not. It's our idea. It's just as easy to demonstrate $1 as it is $1,000. We're the ones who think it's harder. We're the ones who think, oh, it's easy to manifest the little stuff, the parking spaces, but manifesting a job, well, that's going to take some time. No, it's not. It takes the time that it takes for us to believe that it's true for our lives. God can only work through us by working as us in the world. Emerson said this. He said, there is no great and no small to the soul that maketh all, and where it cometh, all things are, and it cometh everywhere. It cometh everywhere. We are immersed in this powerful energy. We are immersed in this responding love. We are immersed, and we're breathing it in, and we're walking through it, and we're living it, and we're demonstrating it, and we're believing it. This is grace. This is grace, the idea that there is no big or little in God. We need to get it. It's not harder to demonstrate the things that we're more emotional to or attached to than it is the little trivial things, the parking spaces. It's no bigger or harder or more difficult. It is healing our belief that it is. The challenge is not with the love or the law or the way it works. The challenge has always been and will always be with us, with our ability to embrace these principles, to understand them, to work them, to believe them, and to allow them to live through us, to allow them to live through us. It outpictures, it always responds to our thought. It manifests according to our predominant beliefs. It has been doing it our whole lives. Now we're understanding how we can do it purposefully, consciously, lovingly. So that's your task this week. That's your task this week. I want you to do this. What is that? Where is that phrase? I want you to go out this week and love into your experience the things you desire, to wrap their expression to you in love so they come harmoniously and with no strain. Are you up for that? You willing? You're able. This is a great year we're manifesting. This is a great year, and we are demonstrating these principles powerfully, and it's going to be better than ever before. Thank you so much.